Let's move on to the Dolphins here at number 13. Lucky number 13 here. A disappointing year for the Dolphins coming off of a long playoff run in the years past. With a little shine taken off of McDaniels there. Let's start with Mike. Where are we feeling the Dolphins going with pick number 13?
I really do feel, and again, I'm just going to reference what I see here, and maybe kind of jump ahead. I feel like cornerback's a good spot here. I do feel like Jade Barron is sticky. I feel like
Okay.
he's a guy that will be all over you, and he can really step in and fill a void that would potentially be left by Jalen Ramsey. With that being said, though, there's a part of me that also kind of feels as if offensive line should be a higher priority. I mean, Tua has been racked by concussions. His career is hanging in the balance, right? One more bad hit, and who knows? And that's terrible, really. That's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of Jade Barron. However, there's a part of me that feels like offensive line should be the priority. The best available on my board, I have Josh Simmons. I think you need to protect, his blind side. Um, you know, I think the Dolphins showed enough on defense, and I think maybe they will figure it out with Jalen Ramsey. Maybe they don't trade him, you know. But I feel like offensive line should be the priority. It hasn't been for a while. I don't know necessarily like Patrick Paul is the answer here, um, but I like Josh Simmons a lot.
Eli,
You.
I'm I'm mute.
There we go. I hear Mike talking about the need to protect Tua, and I absolutely agree. There are a couple tackles I think will be there in the second round that I particularly like for our squad. And Jade adds some versatility to our defense and some physicality, which we need. We're facing up against Josh Allen twice a year. We're facing up against Drake May twice a year. Being able to defend them is our only chance to win in the division. And right now we're counting on Storm Duck to start at one of the cornerback spots. As a UNC alum, I can tell you that's a bad idea. With Jalen being gone, we need some starters and just some bodies to fill out the depth chart on our defense, and to get a talent like Jade, young, and the athleticism and the size. I think is a excellent pick for us right here.
I am a fan of Jade, but Josh Simmons to me makes too much sense in this conversation. With the question marks around Jalen Ramsey, this was a bottom half of the league against the pass last year. Need help along those lines. Look, this is a team that we expect to bounce back on the offensive side of the ball, assuming that Tua can stay upright and healthy and see only one wide receiver running at a time. If that's the case, then I need to lock down, especially in that division. Give me what is the best remaining lockdown corner out there. I love offensive tackle in this spot. I just feel like we just hit a dead period in offensive tackle. Banks is off the board. Obviously, Membu and Campbell are off the board. If I could trade back, I would. But if I can't in this scenario, give me what I think is the best player available for a need, and that's Josh Simmons in this spot.
I got to say too, Colin, and we'll move on. He started games at right tackle and he started games at left tackle. This is a guy that can play both sides of
Mm-hmm.
the offensive line. He'd be protecting to his backside, which would be right tackle,
Right
and,
tackle,
and
yeah.
he's excelled in zone blocking, which is the tenet of Mike McDaniel's offense. I think he could really help take them to the next level, help unlock Achan. Um, and like I said, protection should be the priority.